Yerushalayim. What we do is translate and publish Rabbi Nachman's teachings so that they come out into the world, so that they're available for everybody. Rabbi Nachman is one of the most often quoted Hasidic masters of all time, and he had a lot to say that's all very practical. In fact, Gedalia Fenster, who's next door, a lot of the teachings he gives is based on our books from Rabbi Nachman. And the idea behind it is that Rabbi Nachman tells you how to get in touch with yourself, how to realize who you are, how to recognize your strengths, and how you are able to succeed in making a life for yourself. That's the idea behind Rabbi Nachman's teachings. Okay? Now, the thing was advertised today, the lecture, to speak about Pesach Sheni, which was today. What is Pesach Sheni? Well, we know we have the holiday of Pesach in the month of Nisan, the Hebrew month of Nisan. And it's supposed to be observed on the 15th day of the month of Nisan. And the Torah tells us a story that there were several people, when the Jews were commanded to observe Pesach, that they were impure, and they weren't able to bring the sacrifice. So they came to Moshe Rabbeinu, and they said, we know there's a mitzvah to bring the sacrifice, but we cannot. What can happen? What can we do? And Moshe said to them, wait and see what God will tell me. And God said to him that, okay, you missed out the first Pesach, we'll give you a second chance next month, in the month of Iyar. The 14th day of Iyar, you can bring a sacrifice, a paschal lamb, just like you would the first month. Now, frankly, this is the only mitzvah in the Torah, the only mitzvah that you're given a second chance to go ahead and complete it. Right? Now, there's more, of course. If a person lives and a person makes a mistake with one item, one idea, so of course they can always take a second chance and advantage. But there's no special mitzvah to go ahead and make Pesach Sheni. You don't have that. What happened here? What is the whole Pesach Sheni about? And Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Nosson and Breslov have an incredible teaching about it. Teaching is that comes Pesach, or Pesach is really, look at it as the beginning of the Jewish nation. That's when we became a nation. Pesach is a beginning, and we're always making beginnings. How many lives? I'm starting a diet tomorrow, I'm starting a new business, I'm starting a new approach, I'm starting with my kids, I'm going to do this. There's always something new that we're starting. Pesach is the beginning of the Jewish nation. But it is so important to realize what it means to make a beginning, that the beginning has a second beginning to it. That's the value of Pesach Sheni. So these people came to Moshe and they said to him, we are impure. We did something wrong with our life, right? I can't make that beginning. Now, how many times do we say to myself, I did this wrong, I did that wrong, forget about it, I'm not even going to start. Right? I'm not even going to start making Pesach Sheni, making the Pesach Rishon. I'm not even going to start with that. What I'm going to do is whatever I want, whatever my heart's desire is. These people came to Moshe and they said to him, Anachnu tmeim lenefesh adam. We are impure. Right? Loma nigara. But why should we be lacking? Those were the words they used. Why should we lack going forward and making a new life for ourselves? We are impure. I know I deserve it. I know it's my own fault. I know it's self-inflicted. But still, I'm a member of the Jewish nation. Why should I lack out whatever the Jewish nation has? Why? So what they did, they asked Moshe, is there any chance for us? And Moshe Rabbeinu said, yes, next month you can start again. And that's the way it is with life. That's what Nosim the President teaches us, that there's going to be plenty of things in life that deflect us. You want to start new, you want to start again. And Nosim explains it like this. You have food that you eat every day, right? Is anyone here looking for old stale bread, or would you rather have fresh bread? Would you go to a fruit store and buy old rotten fruits, or would you rather take fresh fruits and vegetables, right? Fresh. The word idea behind it is fresh. Put new life into your life. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was telling us with Pesach Sheni. Moshe Rabbeinu was telling us that we have the opportunity, we have the ability to go ahead and make a new life for ourselves. Okay? This is the idea. Now, to illustrate this, we're going to tell a little story from Rabbi Nachman. It's a very long story. It's from he has a book called Rabbi Nachman Stories, and he has the 13th story is called The Seven Beggars. And of the seven beggars, the first day he speaks about a group of people who were together, and they said, let's see, who can tell us the oldest story? So one person gets up and says, I remember when they cut the string. Most people had no idea what he was talking about, but a few people said, wow, that's an old story. One said, it's not so old. I remember when the lamp was lit. What's this? Another one says, I remember when they brought the seed to plant. That's even older. I remember when the seed was conceived in the mind. And then others said, I remember the fruit, I remember the smell, the taste, and I remember the feel of it when it went into the fruit, right, to bring the seed. And then there was this little kid who said, but I remember nothing. Okay, that's the story. Now, what does all this mean? And whatnot, Rabbi Nachman explains. The first person who was old, he remembered far back. He remembered when they cut the umbilical cord when he was born. Very few people go back that far, right? 2 years old, maybe you'll remember something that happened in the park. You fell off the swing or whatever it may be, or something. But much before that, almost nobody. This person remembered when they cut the umbilical cord. The next person said, I remember when the lamp was lit. He remembered when he was still in his mother's womb, because the Gemara tells us that when the child is in the mother's womb, a candle is lit above him and an angel teaches him Torah. Another said, well, I remember when they brought the seed together, when the parents coupled, when this was first. And I remember when the seed was conceived in the mind. And one says the soul, well, I remember when they put in the taste or the sight or the colors, the feelings. So they kept on going back further and further to when the child was born, when the child was conceived, prior to conception, prior to there being a nefesh, ruach, neshama, a soul of a person. And then along comes this young kid. He was the youngest of all, but he said, I remember when there was nothing, before anything happened. going back to the origin of creation and whatnot. There's a lot more to the story, but we'll focus on this right now. And as Reb Nosson explains it, it's talking about renewal. Pesach Sheni is renewal. Pesach Sheni, excuse me. Pesach Sheni tells us that you can start again. You can make a whole new beginning. You can make a whole new life for yourself, right? There are several ways to look at it. One, you have to forget whatever you did. You ever think that, I forget, it's a bad trait? Do you ever think of that? You know, you want to remember a phone number, all of a sudden you can't, you get stuck. What else was missing from my shopping list, right? What was it that I had to do? I find that more and more at my age, you know, that, gee, what did I come into the room for, right? But we forget, right? So forgetting seems like a bad thing. Rabbi Nachman teaches forgetting is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. If you were to remember everything bad that you did during your life, do you think you'd be able to go forward? Do you think so? Right? How many things did we do wrong in life? Oh no, I have to deal with this, I dealt with that, I did this, I embarrassed this, I said, right? There's no more hope. What is left for us in life? But if I forget all the bad things, so I can rethink back to the good things that happened. I can go forward. More than that is that power of renewal. I did something wrong. I got up in the morning and I got out of bed and I was going to do this and that, and all of a sudden other things happened. They pushed me off, and I don't know where I'm going and what's happening to me now and where. And we say to ourselves, no, I'm going to start again. Right there in the middle of the day, when I started giving up everything that I had, I start again. Renewal. The upshot of that story of the 7 beggars, the first day, Rabbi Nosson writes that why was this young fella considered with the oldest memory of before everything? Because he was Project Renewal. He was the fellow who took himself and said, every single second is a new second, I'm going to start again. And he was able to take advantage of the moment. So what we're dealing with is when we have our lives and we do the things that we have in life and we look forward to accomplishing, right? You really can't accomplish unless you just put yourself new into what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Is this clear? Are there any questions on this? No? Okay. So this is the idea of Pesach Sheni. Pesach Sheni passed today. Okay. Now I got to wait another year for Pesach Sheni to come around? No. Right? For the actual day of the mitzvah, okay, I'll have to wait a year. But for the actual concept of what Pesach Sheni is all about, for the actual concept of renewal, that I can do every day. And that's why Pesach is the only mitzvah that gives you a second mitzvah in case you missed the first. You're starting out. That's what Pesach means. You're starting out a whole new life, right? What Rabbi Nachman is teaching is that you go ahead and start again, and start again, and start again. Rabbi Nachman himself said, I had many ups and downs in my life, and I started many, many times. Even on one day, I must have started dozens of times that I've started again. The same day, I woke up with a resolve, right? Did that happen to anyone here? You wake up with a resolve, you can do this, and then, you will get up at 7, by 7:30 you finish for the day, right? It happens. Where's your resolve? Rabbi Nachman said, don't let it get you down. Take your resolve, start now. Start again. Start this minute again. If by 7:45 you lost it, go ahead and start again. And then by 9 o'clock, just keep on going. Start again. Pesach Sheni teaches us you can start again at any given moment in your life. Okay? this all clear? Any questions on that? No?
Can you say that again? Just kidding.
No, I have that habit of doing it because of the message has to enter us. The message really has to become part of what we really are and what we want to do. And you can only do it that way. Okay. I would suggest now that since already Pesach Sheni passed, and we do have Lag BaOmer coming up, right, on Sunday, just a few more days, right? I would suggest that we maybe shift the lecture to Lag BaOmer. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. Lag BaOmer is the 33rd day of the Omer. Lag BaOmer is teaching us that it's the day of the Yahrzeit of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was the author of the Zohar. Okay? More so, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, was the first and only Tana, Mishnaic teacher, that was given permission to reveal the Kabbalah in this world. Not Rabbi Akiva, not Hillel, Yochanan ben Zakkai, and they were all giants. It was Reb Shimon Bar Yochai who was given the permission to go ahead and reveal the Kabbalah. What was so special about Reb Shimon Bar Yochai? Zohar speaks of the people who were taught to stick together, to keep that friendship, that love, that unity between the people. Reb Shimon had that with his students. As you know, Lag BaOmer is the middle of the Omer. It's the 33rd day. The Talmud teaches that Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students. 24,000 students who did not honor and respect each other. And they all died in a period of 33 days between Pesach and Lag BaOmer. 24,000 Torah scholars, leaders of the Jewish nation, and they were all killed. Hashem took their souls in the 33-day period. Why? Because they did not act with honor to one another. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was a student of Rabbi Akiva. The Ari explains he was the greatest student of Rabbi Akiva, who had Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, the leading giants of the Mishnah. And yet Reb Shimon was able to instill in all his students a sense of unity, a feeling of love for each other and respect. So Reb Shimon was given over the power to reveal the Kabbalah. What is so special about revealing the Kabbalah? Well, frankly, the Torah is divided into two separate concepts. One is the halacha, the laws of Torah, which is known as the body of Torah. Then there's the Kabbalah, which is known as the soul of Torah. Right? You have a body without a soul, you're dead. Right? You take a look at how the adherence to halacha today, there are many people that are religious, they observe Torah, but there are many millions who look at the laws of Torah, at the halacha, the body of Torah, and they don't have any connection to it. They see it as a dead body, and it's not so. Judaism is very much alive, right? It's the Kabbalah, the mystical part, the part that speaks to your heart. It tells you, yes, there are reasons for everything that happens in life, and there are things that go on in life that you could relate to, that you could refer to. that could be integrated into your daily life, that is the soul of it, right? You have a body without a soul, you're dead. On the other hand, if you have a soul without a body, you're a demon, right? The demons are said to have souls, no bodies, no good. It's got to be a connection. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai is mentioned throughout the Talmud. He has virtually every Masechta. He gives over his halachic view, but then he also offers us the Kabbalah, the mystical. Now, we don't have to take a look at the mystical, the esoteric parts of it. I mean, the Kabbalah speaks, why is there a lot of opposition to study Kabbalah? A lot of that opposition is meant because of the people who cannot take the finite, the infinite ideas that are there, the spiritual ideas that have no body, no constriction, and they can't really picture it without a physical connection. And that's not true. The Kabbalah is completely spiritual. So there is opposition to it, rightfully so, because if you're beyond your realm, beyond what you're capable of understanding, you could spoil whatever it is, right? Take an engineer that's building a submarine and come along with a person who doesn't understand that you have to be completely sealed from the water, right? You can sink the whole submarine, no good. So you've got to be able to take the Torah as it's given to you and form it into an issue that you could understand. But on the other hand, and here's where Rabbi Nachman comes into play with Reb Shimon, right? Reb Shimon Bar Yochai took the esoteric ideas of Torah and he ended up explaining it in a way where we could benefit, we could reach out, and we could recognize that God is with us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Right? That's what the Kabbalah teaches us. Recognition of God. More so, there's a lot of different esoteric teachings, yes, granted, but nothing more so than the ability to relate to God. That is an incredible thing. God is there. God is here. God is everywhere, right? You have the Chabad song, Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is always everywhere, right? He's there. But how do I connect? How do I connect? That's what Reb Shimon Bar Yochai did for us. Comes Lag BaOmer. It's not just a day where you take your bow and arrow and shoot, right? It's not just a day that you make a parade. It's not just a day where you don't say Tachanun and the davening. It's a day that's meant to teach us that we too could relate to Hashem on such a level that is beyond our description. Now here's where Rabbi Nachman comes in to help explain what the Zohar is all about. He brings first a quote from the Zohar, which Eliyahu HaNavi said to Rabbi Shimon. He said to him, "Ki bezoya do yifkun bei min galusa." With this Zohar, the Jews will leave the exile. That's how powerful the Zohar is. It helps us, teach us, we can get out of exile. What is exile if not a state of mind? Right? And the proof of that is, you know, there was a Babylonian exile, right? There was an exile, a Persian exile, with Haman and all that. There was the Roman exile, which we're in today. The Romans took us out of the land. But there was a fourth exile, and that was the Greek exile, the miracle of Hanukkah. But that didn't take place in France or in Spain. It took place in Israel, right? So where's the exile, right? The exile is really a state of mind. The exile that was there was the Greek exile, the idea, the Hellenist movement that pervaded the Jewish minds, that this is the way you live. That's exile too. It's a state of mind. It doesn't have to be I'm out of my place. Rashi explains, the dictionary explains, that exile is when a person is removed from his place and put somewhere else. That's also a state of mind. I can be in my place yet I can be in exile too. Rabbi Nachman explains that the whole idea of the Zohar and the teachings of Rabbi Nachman, that they come out, are all to make us aware that we are not in exile. We are. Truthfully, we are in exile, but we're not. The exile is one of our own making. The exile is one where we, as a people, have forgotten, which we spoke about in the beginning of the lecture, the forgetting of who we are, what we are, our connection to Hashem. That is what is missing in our lives. Rabbi Nachman teaches you, whoever you are, wherever you are, you want to know the mystical understanding of what Torah is all about? Then pray to God. Pray to God. Make your connection with God. God is invisible. You can't see him. So do you have any connection? Do you pray to him once in a while? Maybe we'll pray in the morning, Shacharit. Maybe we'll pray Mincha, Arvit. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe we'll say Birkat HaMazon. But we thank Hashem. But who is this God? What does he represent? What is he to me? Right? Rabbi Nachman says, take your tefillot, take your prayers, take your mouth, learn to engage your mouth in prayer to Hashem. When you do so, you're making an incredible connection to Hashem. Pray today, pray tomorrow, pray the next day. You're going to find that there's some kind of connection developing. That is the mystical, the Kabbalah. That is the hidden treasure of what Judaism is all about. Each and every one of us, male, female, old, young, doesn't matter, right? We can make that connection. And the more you try it, you're going to find that the younger you become. You're able to remember going way, way back. You're able to develop your life in such a way that you could engage with Hashem till you remember nothing prior to creation, till you remember the fact that you are able to join up with God at any given moment. That is the real connection of Lag BaOmer. And for those of us who are fortunate, and this year I'm not, but Lag BaOmer in Israel is celebrated at the gravesite of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai in Mount Meron, which is not far from Tzfat. And I was there in 1963 as a bocher. I studied in the yeshiva, 64 maybe, and there were about 30,000 people who went to visit Meron. And it was really incredible, because usually maybe on a busy day you might find 100 people. 100, I had 20,000, 30,000, right? Like Uman, right? It was...
I was at Meron also.
In those days?
No.
A few years.
7 years.
Okay, so that's what it was like in 1964. Today, there are upwards of 300,000 people. Maybe there's 400,000 people already, maybe even more, for all I know. And they all travel to Meron. The police are not happy because of the roadblocks and the traffic that they have to learn to control, which they have never learned to do, no matter what they do. Doesn't help. You can see the anger and the frustrations of people. I want to get there, but so many hundreds of thousands of people. There are people from the States that travel to Meron, Lag BaOmer, just for Lag BaOmer, to be there by Reb Shimon. Why is that? Because Reb Shimon, he said that with the Zohar we will leave the exile, right? Reb Shimon is teaching us that there's a mystical feeling inside each and every one of us. That mystical feeling comes out through prayer, through tefillah, right? If we can take this now a step further and understand it. The Kabbalah speaks of 10 Sefirot. Right? Anyone here familiar with that? Yeah? Okay? 10 Sefirot. Those are 10 spiritual energies. The highest is called the Keter, the crown. The lowest is called Malchut. Malchut being authority, kingship. Okay? So now, Malchut, it's authority, you're a king, you're a ruler, a president, right? You have a president who says, I'm a president, and lets everyone know it, whatever the case is, or whatever you want. Point is that when you start thinking about the president, you start thinking about the authority, we have to remember that every day we say the Shema. Correct? We say the Shema. What is the Shema? It's known in Talmud as Kabbalat Ol Malchut Shemayim. I accept upon myself the yoke of the kingship of heaven. That's kingship. That's Malchut. The kingship that I relate to is the kingship of God. I accept upon myself the kingship of God. A person who does that is incorporating that feeling of Malchut into himself. Because I now become an authority. Since I have accepted the Malchut of Hashem, that Malchut now permeates my whole body. Right? Because I have accepted Shema. Shema has 248 words, which represents the body, the 248 limbs. And therefore, I have incorporated and integrated authority into myself. If I have that Malchut, if I have that feeling, then I become an authority. Big deal, right? You're not going to write yourself a ticket. You're not going to do all those things. Authority by us means that I can control myself. I can now take control of my life. I now can take control of what I'm supposed to be doing. I now am in charge and I can accomplish. I can go further. That's Malchut. And that itself is also the power of tefillah. That is also the power of prayer. That power that I exude when I take upon myself Malchut, I have taken upon myself the power to relate to Hashem, to relate to anything and everyone that I have to do. It gives me confidence. It gives me strength to go ahead with my life and do what I have to do. Furthermore, Malchut in the Zohar, the Svar, also refers to the attribute of faith. It's an attribute of faith, right? You have faith in yourself, you'll take the necessary step. If you don't have faith, you'll waver, maybe you'll call somebody, should I not do it? And we're going to waver back and forth between what I could do and what I... If you have faith, you have confidence in yourself. You have confidence in yourself, you could pray to Hashem because you can know that your prayers will eventually bring you salvation that you need. I'll tell you a story. It's about myself. I don't like to do this, but I found that it's helped a lot of people. I was 16 and change. It was 1962. It was shortly after the Cuban crisis, and I don't think there's too many people here that remember the Cuban crisis, right? Back in 61, remember it, right? So, at that time, I was a little wild kid, or a wild teenager, and I said to myself, look at this. We almost had a nuclear war in the United States, Cuba, Russia, and I may have died, but without having the mitzvah of walking in Israel, of going to visit the land of Israel. And it bothered me. How could I let an opportunity like this? I need the mitzvah of walking in the land of Israel. The Gemara says whoever walks there 4 steps is guaranteed a place in the world to come. So how could I not go to Israel? But I was a kid. I was then 15 during the crisis. So a year later, I had worked and collected some money. And I said to my mother, my father had passed away already by then, but I said to my mother, I'm going to Israel this summer. right? Now, she was a good woman, but she was a widow. We weren't wealthy. In those days, the early 60s, the only ones who traveled to Israel were those with money, because tickets then were like $600, $700, which today is like $6,000, $8,000, whatever. It was expensive, right? So we didn't go. The only one in my family that had been to Israel was my grandfather, because he was retired. He could do it. So I said to her, I'm going. No, you can't, no money, whatever. She was very nice about it, but she looked at me like I was nuts. In truth, she was probably right. So here I am saying I want to go to Israel. I want to do something and do a mitzvah. Nothing. Well, it turned into a battle royale, and this was going on in the family, whatever. And I needed the money like the next day. A month goes by, 6 weeks go by. I needed the money. So I came home from yeshiva that night, very confident I'm going to get the money. I came home and I met my entire family. Grandfather, aunts and uncles, of course my mother was there, everyone there. They lined me up. They sat me in a corner in the living room on the couch, and they sat and they semicircled around me, the entire family. What's all this business about going to Israel? And started the dialogue, they call it? No, 2 monologues. Intervention. But it was like the 2 monologues. They're talking what they're talking, I'm talking what I want. And this is going on for a while, and nobody's getting anywhere with it. And I said to myself then, just forget about it. I'm tuning out the family. I sat there in the corner, and I turned to Hashem, and I said, Hashem, I want to cry. I said, I want to cry. And I kept on saying this, they're talking to me, I didn't hear a word. I want to cry, I want to cry, I want to cry. 5, 7 minutes go by, I started crying. I'm sitting there with the tears streaming down my face. And I said, Hashem, I'm crying now, okay? Now that I'm crying, I'm turning to prayer, and I'm saying, asking that I want to go to visit Israel this summer. Why? Because the Talmud teaches that the gates of prayer may sometimes be closed, but the gates of tears are never closed. They're never closed. So that's why I prayed to cry. Once I started crying, I started praying, and now the gates are open. Now I want to go to Israel. And this went on for another 5, 7 minutes. Then all of a sudden, the whole family picked up, walked out of the room. And they had some kind of huddle in the next room. And they came back, here's your check. Well, goodbye. Prayer. Malchus, authority. You can become the authority on your life. You could accomplish incredible things with your life. You can go, who knows how far, how much you could accomplish, right? You can do it. Cry, pray, right? Realize that the Malchut, the authority of Hashem, is in you. This is what Reb Shimon ben Yochai taught us with the revelation of the Kabbalah, that there are factors that are always working on this planet. There is energies of Hashem that are always within reach, and you, as Malchus being the lowest of the Sefirot, Malchus is the one that you can interact with more than anything else. It's still hidden from you. You don't know how it works. But did you ever pray for something and find the answer? Right? Did it ever happen? Okay. And that's what tells you that you can do it. Right? Now after 120 years, I'm going to go up and say that at the age of 16, you learned the power of prayer. Why didn't you use it more? So they're going to schmeiß me, schmeiß in Yiddish, they're going to find a way to take it out of me. Granted, they taught me very early that I can do it, that we all can do it.
How long did you stay in Israel? Sorry, one of my ears isn't up too well.
No, I have a hearing loss. I'm supposed to be wearing hearing aids.
Actually, I had a problem with my left ear. So how long did you stay in Israel when you went?
At that time I stayed for 6.5 weeks.
Uh,
Right, and that was just the summer. I was 16 and change. I was still in high school, right? So I had to get back to school and finish. But the following year, I went to Israel for a year and a half to study. And that year and a half made a tremendous impression on me. I had to fight for that too, but it was already, I broke the barriers once. They became easier after that. But it was a year that impressed upon me what Rabbi Nachman's teachings can do for people, right? Renew yourself. Speak to God every day, right? Rabbi Nachman taught joy. Be happy with what you have, right? Learn to thank Hashem on every step that you have. Learn to thank Hashem for what you can do. All these little things that Rabbi Nachman taught, which are gigantic steps, right? You remember that game? You can take a giant step, you can take 2 small steps, whatever, right? Rabbi Nachman taught us every little step we take is really a giant step. But we can go very far. We can accomplish, we could always renew ourselves. We could always make a new life for ourselves. That's what Pesach Sheni is all about, and coupled with the energies that are released through Reb Shimon ben Yehoy or Lag BaOmer, then for sure we have tremendous powers vested in us, and we could accomplish, the sky's the limit.
Was Shimon bar Yochai a major influence on Rabbi Nachman?
Definitely. Actually, the Zohar, though it was written circa 200, 100, 200, around there, 2,000 years ago, it wasn't revealed till about 500 years ago. That's when the Zohar, they found the manuscripts. That's when they found it, about 500 years ago, before the Ari. And the Ari is the one who developed the teachings of the Zohar so that we understand the system and how it works and what we can do. Right? And he was the major influence on the entire Kabbalah system as we know it today, plus upon Reb Shimon upon the Baal Shem Tov and Rabbi Nachman and all that. Yes, definitely.
Where the writings found, some writing, the manuscript was found in Spain, where was it?
Around 500.
In Spain.
About 500 years ago. I don't know if it was Spain.
Spain.
It was Spain? Yeah, could be.
Spain.
How it got there? I mean, there were initiates throughout the generations that had some of the teachings. The Ramban, for instance, was about 900 years ago. He had the knowledge of the Zohar, and others before him. But it was kept only among the initiates. Are there any questions on Rabbi Nachman, on any other subject, any other topic? Feel free.
So you basically refer to
Bodedut, right? That's the name of prayer. Boded is the Hebrew word to be alone. Rabbi Nachman says, take yourself alone, away from everything around you, and speak to God in your own language, at your own pace, your own feelings. Articulate that which is in your heart. That's it, Bodedut, and that is prayer to Hashem. That'll take you many places.
Rabbi, I wanted to add a little bit to the beginning of what you said of the renewal. And why it's so important, because you mentioned, you said it over and over, renewal. And another thing that Rabbi Nachman says is, why is the renewal so important? It's because everything goes after the beginning. So the way you start something is what it becomes. The seed, everything the tree is to become is in the seed. So as you renew yourself, if you renew yourself with a stronger and stronger renewal every time, whatever comes out after that is going to go after it.
you have like a stronger seed.
Yeah. Very nice. Thank you. Any other questions? Really, anything you want, any topic. Nothing to do with what we spoke with tonight, or anything that we said
Why is
tonight.
it so difficult sometimes to do it?
Because it's the greatest power on earth. It's your direct connection to Hashem. You're drawing Hashem's presence into you, which will spill over into everybody around you. Well, that's the whole problem of this world. God is hidden. You are revealing God. That's why it's so hard. That's why it's so hard. And why it's so important.
Can you also go into how it ties into lesson 49 and co-creation, and how by making a space for Hashem, in your daily life, you're actually, like you said, you accept the malchut of Hashem, you're given, the power to actually create your reality.
Yeah, well, that's the power of prayer. Rabbi Nachman says, take a look. Prayer is called niflaot, wonders. Right? Why? Because you're taking a natural phenomenon as it exists, and you're asking for it to be changed. In other words, you're asking for a miracle. You're asking God to change nature for you. Somebody is sick, right? You pray for that person to get better. You're asking God to change nature. Okay? Parnosa. Person has difficulty earning a living. You're praying to God to give you that living, right? To give you the parnosa. The business is not working out. It's a bad climate. The market is down. The market is up. You're selling short. There's so many different things that when you pray for what you want, you're asking God to change what's happening around you. You're asking God to change nature. And yes, that's why prayer is, you're asking God to create a new situation. A whole new situation. And you have the power to do it.
But everything is determined, I don't understand. So far,
Everything is,
everything's determined, except
Yes.
free will.
Yes.
So everything's determined.
okay, since it's determined and you have free will, your free will could change that determination.
But you were given a certain amount of days.
Yes.
You were given a certain amount of days.
Yeah.
So how
And
can
they
you
got-
change that?
The Talmud says that a person could change his decree, his or her decree, in your case, right? You could change your decree by prayer. Through prayer, you could change the decree, whatever it is. You can. It's happened. Right? The Talmud says, for instance, there was somebody called Yoman HaTzadik, Moran Basra. He took care of the poor. He was a Gabbai Stoker. Gabbai, how do you say Gabbai in English? He was
In charge of Rabbi or somebody who collects money? and
he was a Gabbai. He was in charge of the charity monies. And there was a famine. And the monies were going out. And there was a family, a widow with a couple of children who didn't have any money. And she came to him and he said, I'm sorry, I don't have the money. She pleaded, I have 2 children to feed. So he went and took his own money and he gave it to her. Okay? A few years later, he got sick. That was the end of his life. And his soul went on high. His children were crying by his bed and saying, but Hashem, he did more than what was asked of him. And heaven said, you're right. So they gave him an extra 22 years. He changed his decree. This was through charity. There were others through prayer. There were others through other mitzvahs. Right? A certain mitzvah you do could help you get to a certain level. Right? Yes, everything is predetermined. The Talmud neither says that prior to a child's birth, right, God decrees upon it tall, short, wealthy, poor, healthy, sick, and it goes through a whole litany of a few different things that happen to that soul. The only thing it doesn't say is whether he will be a Rasha or a Tzaddik. That's up to him. The predetermination is for everything else. And you can change that which it says. You can change it by prayer.
So if you're determined to be married to a certain person,
It's predetermined.
that's predetermined.
Yeah, but you can change it through prayer. Right?
But
You got a husband who's
if you
no
don't pray, you're
good.
going to end up with that person. If you don't pray, you're going to end up with that person.
If you don't pray, you'll end up with that person. If you pray, you may end up with that person who's now a better person, or with somebody else who's a better person.
If you pray.
That could happen if you pray.
Otherwise, you're going to get who you.
Or you're going to get what they told you beforehand. This is what it is. But you could change that. You could change that. You could change the nature of your spouse. You could change the nature of your marriage. You can change a lot of things. Yes, prayer is that powerful.
More important than changing yourself.
That's for sure. That's what the whole idea of
Prayer
prayer
is
is
more
all
important.
about.
Prayer is more important than changing yourself.
No, prayer is what changes yourself.
Right. I know.
Right? You want to change something? Pray for it. You are the authority over yourself. Prayer is your power of authority. Right? In the authority vested in me as so-and-so, whatever it is, you, by your prayer, have made yourself the authority that's vested in you. Rabbi Nachman also, somebody came to him once, I want to be a good Jew. Rabbi Nachman said to him, do you really want to be a good Jew? In other words, you can say, it's easy to say things, but are you really willing to put your mouth, to put your heart where your mouth is? Are you really willing? Are you really willing to make the sacrifice? Right? Are you going to give that up? Right? It's a power, and you can do it. Okay? Any other questions? Please feel free.
Melech HaMishpat Ma'amid Haaretz, right? There's a sentence that a king who does Mishpat, he establishes a land.
Right.
Now,
It's a verse in Mishnah, Proverbs.
Now, Melech, Keter, Mishpat, Tiferet, goes down the
Straight line, center.
It's a center line, right? So the Malchut is at the bottom, the Keter is at the top, the Ratzon is at the top. What is the day-to-day, what is the application day-to-day of how, we can affect that middle line through the prayer?
What was just asked for everyone to understand, the Zohar explains that the world is established on a three-column basis. 3 columns mean right, left, and center. Right represents the side of compassion and kindness. Left represents the side of judgment and constrictions. And the center column is a blend of the two. Okay? So the way the Sfirot are arrayed, you have from the top going straight down to the bottom. The top is the Keter, that's the will, the beginning, the origin of everything, and the bottom is the Malchut, is the authority that we've talked about. In the middle, you have something that's called Mishpat. Mishpat meaning judgment, where you have the kindnesses, compassion of the judge, who's looking at the stern deed that was committed, and he's trying to bring a compassionate type of judgment. That's the idea behind what he's asking, right? He's asking how it works, right, in our day-to-day life, right? In our day-to-day life, though there is that middle column that goes straight from the top down to us, right? But it doesn't go straight down. It goes through the array of the right and left. So you're going to find kindnesses and constrictions. You know, you're going to, I want to get to this place, but there's a traffic jam. Now all of a sudden it opens up. So there's contractions, constrictions, and there's kindness, and back and forth. And this is the way it's going to be with everything in life. Right? So how it applies to us in the day-to-day system is for you to look for the kindnesses and for you to pray to Hashem to avoid the constrictions. That way you get the middle line, the compassionate line straight from the top to the bottom. Right? Because you're always going to have kindnesses and you're always going to have constrictions. You have to learn how to blend the two together.
If I may follow up on it, it all comes down to Yesod before we can interact with it in our world. And Nachman says that the Malchut and the Yesod are actually intricately related in that you build up Yesod through Malchut and you build up Malchut through Yesod. And that is there anything on a day-to-day basis that we can do to improve that, on the side of the...
What we said that there are three columns. Have any or all of you seen what they call the Enneagram, the picture of the Sefirot, where they're connected, they go back and forth? You're familiar with that picture? Okay. But you'll notice that all of them start at the top and they come down to one, the next to last Sefirah, which is called Yesod. Right? Now everything, whatever happens, the energy passes through Chesed, through Netzach, through Hol, whatever it is, it ends up in Yesod. Yesod is the foundation where everything comes together, and all the energies then are transferred to Malchut, the bottom, the lowest level, so that you are now a recipient of all the energies that have come from above. Okay? The question is, since basically, for our purposes, for our understanding, it's Malchut and Yesod that interact, because everything gets together in Yesod, and from there it's transferred to Malchut, and vice versa. When we pray to Hashem, it's our energy going from Malchut back to Yesod to go up. It goes down, it goes up. Whatever comes down must go up, or whatever goes up must come down. But that's basically the way it is. It's our energies, our mitzvot that cause the light of Hashem to go back through the Sefirot to Hashem, and that demands of Him that He should send us more bounty. And it comes down to us if we accept it and use it right, so then we send it back up and so on. That's the way the world works. Is there anything that we can do that can benefit the connection between Yesod and Malchut? That's your question? Yes. Be careful morally, right? That's Yesod. And pray. And do the mitzvot like you're supposed to. Just act right. That's the way you do it. Act right. Do the right thing. Right? It's the one thing I taught my kids, if anything. And thank God I can feel that it's there. I don't care what you say or do, just make sure it's the right thing. Right? You borrowed money, make sure you pay back. Right? There's somebody who needs something, you could help them out, go ahead and do it. May not be comfortable, may be very difficult. But take a few minutes, help another Jew, and do it right. And then so on and so forth. That's everything that you can do. That's what you have to do.
So to review what you said, to get the energy down from Ketla correctly, you concentrate on praying for the Chesed and to avoid the constriction. And then as it comes down, all that energy that you work on comes down to Yesod, to release it in the right way. You act morally, and then you do what you do in order to facilitate
Right.
that.
Rabbi Nosson asks, he says, how is it possible that we are allowed to pray for a sick person to get better? He asked the question. I mean, God sent him the sickness, determined, right? God sent him the sickness. Now, who are you to come interfere in what Hashem wants?
It's also the best thing for him.
Right.
Because Hashem does not.
Yeah, Hashem didn't. So where do you come to interfere in Hashem's plan and pray for this person to get better? But he answers that Hashem is not looking for the illness, the constriction. He's looking for the chesed. Right? He's looking for the kindness. And that's the way people, the more you do acts of kindness, the more you reveal the kindness of Hashem in this world. And therefore, when you pray for someone who's sick, you're doing an act of kindness. Right? And that could alleviate the suffering that the person's going through. Right? Now, how could you pray for somebody to get better? Hashem sent us. But that's your job. Your job is to look for the compassion, find the compassion, find the kindnesses of Hashem, and develop it in this world. And that way, you make it a better world. Okay?
Thank you.
Any questions? Anything else? Shalom, Avi. So everyone have a good night. May Hashem bless you all, that everything is good in your lives. And, we see the coming of Mashiach, the building of the base of Mikdash, and maybe we can still celebrate Lag BaOmer in Israel this year. Maybe.